So we're talking about this remote, icy island that has all of a sudden become a huge deal in global politics. This is Greenland, and we're going to break down exactly why the world's superpowers are so focused on its future. It really kicked off with this pretty stunning statement from former President Donald Trump. I mean, he didn't just offer to buy Greenland, he actually refused to rule out using force to get it. Now, the US had tried to buy the island before, sure, but never this bluntly, and certainly not out in the open like this. And that really gets to the heart of it, right? Why? Why is this massive, barely populated island suddenly the center of this huge geopolitical chess match between the US, Europe, Russia, and even China? Okay, to understand the answer, first we have to get our heads around this wild idea of buying a country in the 21st century. And to do that, you have to understand Greenland's really unique and, let's be honest, kind of confusing identity. So here's the paradox of Greenland. Geographically, it's smack in North America. But politically, it's a semi-autonomous part of the Kingdom of Denmark. You know, a European country thousands of miles away. For a long, long time, this wasn't really a big deal, but now that division is right at the heart of the whole conflict. The first reason for all this intense interest, and it's probably the most critical one, is military. It all comes down to one simple thing: location, location, location. This quote just nails it. It perfectly captures the island's strategic value. See, it's not about the land itself, but where that land sits. This unsinkable aircraft carrier gives you a platform for military power and surveillance in a super important part of the world. I mean, just look at the geography. It's the world's biggest island, but get this, only about 57,000 people live there. And it's positioned right between the major powers of the Northern Hemisphere. And this is crucial. It's on the shortest polar air route for missiles traveling between Russia and the United States. And yeah, the US already has a massive footprint here. Pitofix Space Base. It is the northernmost US military installation on the entire planet. It was built during the Cold War as an early warning system for Soviet missiles, and you better believe its role today in space and missile defense is just as vital. This American interest is not new. It goes way back to World War II, when the US actually occupied Greenland to protect it from the Nazis. The whole experience was so valuable that in 1946, the US secretly offered to buy it. Denmark said no, but by 1951, the two NATO allies signed a defense treaty that's still in effect today. But wait, this isn't just about military strategy anymore. The second major factor here is economic. Because underneath that massive ice sheet in Greenland, well, there's a potential treasure chest of natural resources. We're talking about one of the world's largest known deposits of minerals. Things like gold, zinc, iron, and, this is a big one, rare earth elements. Those are the key ingredients for basically all of our modern tech, from the smartphone in your pocket to electric cars. And that's a market that China completely dominates right now. But, and this is a huge but, for all this incredible potential, the reality is that Greenland's mining sector is tiny. I mean, pulling these resources out of the ground is incredibly difficult and super expensive because of the harsh climate, the rugged terrain, and just a total lack of infrastructure. But there's a massive force that's changing this whole equation: climate change. As the Arctic ice melts, it's uncovering land that was once thought to be totally unreachable. It's also opening up brand new, shorter Arctic shipping routes that could totally revolutionize global trade. What was once a frozen barrier is literally becoming an economic highway. So, with all this talk of military bases and mineral rights, it's really easy to forget the most important factor in all of this: the 57,000 people who actually call Greenland home. Their future is right at the center of this story. To really get their position, you have to start with this number: 500 million euros. That's the grant Greenland gets from Denmark every single year. It's basically a lifeline, and it highlights the island's biggest challenge. So think about this. That grant from Denmark makes up about half of Greenland's entire government budget. The other half comes mainly from fishing. This economic dependence, it's the single biggest obstacle to what so many Greenlanders really want: full independence. And that desire is powerful. The people of Greenland, who are overwhelmingly of Inuit descent, they have their own distinct culture and identity. They have their own language, a deep connection to their land, and this growing ambition to completely govern themselves. So you can imagine, right? When an offer comes from a foreign power to be bought and sold, the reaction is just rooted in this deep sense of ownership and national pride. They see a future where maybe they work with partners like the US, but not one where they are owned by them. Okay, so let's zoom out. What does all this intense focus on one remote island tell us about how global power is shifting? Well, it might just signal a return to a much more confrontational time. You see, the US interest isn't just some random idea. Some analysts see it as part of a much bigger strategy to basically turn North America into a fortress, kind of like an America first on steroids, securing its whole neighborhood against rivals like Russia and China. Now, that perspective is pretty startling. It suggests that by challenging the sovereignty of a NATO ally, the US could be signaling a shift to a whole new world order, one based on spheres of influence, where big powers just assert control over their regions, a lot like Russia and China are trying to do. This is a world where the idea of untouchable borders gets pushed aside by raw power politics. And so, that leaves us with this final, critical question. Greenland is sitting at the crossroads of huge strategic value, untapped economic potential, and a powerful movement for self-determination. As the giants of the world circle, will the people of Greenland actually be able to forge their own path? Or will their fate be decided for them?